Okay. Hello, I'm Liz, and welcome to LizCapism. I've been looking to make YouTube videos for a few years now, and the inevitable question was always, what kind of videos? And I never really had an answer to that question. I could rack my brain and come up with some stuff, but it was always just something I wasn't really interested in. Unrelated, about a year ago, I started looking into garment sewing as a means of saving some money and looked up a few YouTube tutorials. I learned how to sew when I was a kid. My mom sews, but I'd never really gotten past the sewing straight lines. I could make a coaster, could do some minor repairs. I kind of approached sewing in the same way that you would approach something like minor house repairs. It was a skill that I had some of the tools for it, but it wasn't a hobby. It wasn't something I did for fun. It was something that I did sort of as necessary. And I came across historical costuming YouTube, also known as Costube. And suddenly my mind was opened to this huge community of amazing individuals who are creating historically accurate, elaborate gowns, as well as using those historical costuming techniques every day. They commiserated about difficulties, talked about techniques, and made detailed videos about things that they were doing and the research that they were doing. I wanted nothing more than to be part of this community. I can research history like crazy, where I can make something beautiful and share it with people who are so excited that I'm sharing it. Yes, please. I was given the American Duchess 18th Century Guide to Dressmaking, and that combined with the hashtag Georgian January that happened on Instagram, and finally the deadline for the Foundations Revealed competition was the first week in February. I did a little bit on Instagram. You can check out my Instagram. It's LizCapism. But I wanted to share more. I wanted to share more details. I wanted to take you with me in this process. I haven't totally worked out what I want these videos to be yet. I don't know if I want them to be mostly process driven or if I want them also to have some chatty and research driven elements or a combination of the two. I'd also like to do some proper dress up from time to time. There may be some tips and recommendations for dressing vintage in your everyday life. It's worth noting right at the start that I am not intending these videos necessarily to be instructive. I am a beginner, and while I have been able to sew for many years, I have not been sewing for many years, and I am still very, very rusty. Usefulness, I guess, will be in the eye of the beholder. Your mileage may vary. In my first few videos, I want to take you along on my first top-down full costume project, an 18th century English gown. This is the first gown, the first outfit, the first costume in the American Duchess 18th Century Dressmaking book, and I think that's for good reason. It seems to be one of the more straightforward patterns from the era, as well as using the least fancy embellishments and techniques, which is encouraging to beginners, but also makes for a really good beginning into the era in general. Making the stays, which is what the majority of the first video is going to be, was such an interesting process. It was complicated, it was interesting, and it yielded some really cool results and really did lay a foundation for, so to speak, what would become the shape that I was going for. So that was really encouraging, and you can actually see a supercut, a 60-second video of the process of making my stays that I submitted to the Foundations Revealed contest. That's up on the channel. I'll link it below. That'll be the first video that I create. I have all of the footage, I just need to put it together and make it make sense. I hope you will think of subscribing to this channel and following me on my escape to the past. Bye.